Hello, today we're going to be talking a bit about Camas. Is it overrated? And give you a few areas that are similar to Camas that get you just the same bang for your buck and possibly more. Let's get into it. Now, you can't research Vancouver, Washington real estate without coming across Camas. Camas is the best. Camas is the fastest growing city. Camas is the second appreciating area in Vancouver. It has appreciated over the last 5 years, the second most in the county, second only to Washougal, which is a surprise. And so Camas pops up on everybody's radar. It's got great rated schools and in general has this lofty position as real estate gold. There's unicorns around. There's little fairies playing flutes, and it's a wonderful place to be. But is it, and are there alternatives to Camas that you may be overlooking? So Camas is a great place to live, and I'm not here to speak down on Camas or to discourage anybody from looking into purchasing in Camas. I like that area, and in fact, I thought about purchasing in Camas myself a couple of years back. Now, when I first moved to Vancouver 10 years ago, Camas was kind of a backwater, and it was a small town that was anchored by a stinky pulp mill that emitted a really odoriferous smell into the area, and frankly, it stank. And there wasn't any reason to go there, and it was kind of looked down upon. Well, flash forward 10 years, and Camas is super hot, and it has kind of revitalized its downtown. The pulp mill is no longer. There is a lot of development that's kind of centered around the Boulder Ridge development and similar developments kind of on the east side of Camas. And it's kind of anchored by 192nd Street, which provides some shopping and restaurant options. And so for me, I kind of divide Camas into the east and the west part. Now, the west is kind of the part that's anchored by kind of the old town of Camas, downtown, and kind of that area where the houses are older and in, a little bit of a rougher shape. It's not what we tend to think about when we think about Camas, which I tend to associate with the east side of Camas, which is kind of butting up against, it's kind of in the north and to the east, and it is surrounded and it's anchored by the Boulder Ridge development and other similar developments, which are quite high end and quite desirable for a certain crowd. Now, it's Camas, like I said, there's nothing wrong with Camas, but there's a few things I do want to talk about Camas because the median sale price is hovering around $900,000. So this isn't a value area. And the fact that it's sort of this high-end destination for people moving kind of makes me laugh a little bit given its recent history, but it's not undeserved. And like I said, Camas is great. A couple of reasons why I think it might be hyped up a little bit too much are one, its school district. Now, if you haven't watched my video about school rating systems and how I think they're pretty much BS, you can check out my video here after you're done watching this one to find out why school ratings are pretty misleading. And the same thing goes for Camas. Like typically you'll have realtors just speaking on and on about how great the school district is, even though they really have no experience with the school district. And there's nothing wrong with the school district there, but again, I'm not sure if you compare it to the Evergreen School District or the Vancouver School District and schools within those districts that are highly rated or highly regarded. I don't think there's a huge difference that would warrant you dropping everything and buying into Camas just because of the school district. So that's one reason why I think Camas is kind of overrated. The second is that I think for that price point, that $900,000 price point that you're going to see in Camas, it's not uncommon. There's other areas in Vancouver that are going to get you kind of the same thing you're looking for. So if you're in Camas, especially the west side of Camas, you don't have a lot of access to shopping and restaurants and amenities. You have to go to 192nd. That's kind of where all that strip there is where the Costco is and Target and stuff. And then there's some restaurants that are pretty decent. And that's kind of like the revitalized area of Camas, but it's really kind of the East Vancouver area as well. So downtown Camas is pretty cute. It's got a theater. It's got some restaurants. It's got some stuff going on there. They've done a good job revitalizing that downtown area in Camas. But again, you're not going to go down to downtown Camas to get your like everyday shopping needs met. That's more of sort of a fun thing. You can go to a farmer's market, you can check out a movie, you can go to sort of a higher end restaurant there once in a while. But for your everyday shopping needs, grocery needs, you're going to have to go a little bit outside. And I think for that level of convenience, like that's not super convenient in Camas. Again, depends on where you are. But I think that's another part that makes Camas kind of overrated. Like it doesn't have a ton of amenities. And so you do have to kind of drive to reach those shopping centers where you can meet those needs. So let's get into some neighborhoods that I think are just as good, if not better, than Camas that are sort of a little bit slept on. And so the first one I'm going to bring up is the Mill Plain, Lacamas, Prairie area. Now, this area kind of abuts Camas and that 192nd. You can definitely gain access to it. Homes in this area can range from, older built homes in the 70s and 80s to newer construction. And the median price point here is about, $750 or so. And so depending on what you're looking for, you have a wide range of options. You can look for a newer build that kind of offers that same luxury that you would find in East Camas and what we tend to think about as Camas now. You can definitely find that in Lacamas Prairie, and that's going to be on the higher end. But if you go a little bit further west in the Mill Plain area, you can find a wonderful home, a resale home, built in the 70s or 80s for significantly less, and you still get access to that shopping quarter, that 192nd, as well as being close to like Round Lake and Lacamas Lake, and a little bit further north, you get Battleground Lake as well. So if you're looking to access all the natural amenities that the area offers, you're in a really great place there. And you're not spending the same amount as you would in Camas. And the schools there, I believe, are just as good as the ones in Camas. Again, with school ratings, it really depends on the school. It really depends year to year. You really have to do more than just look at a rating page. But I think they're every bit as good as the schools in Camas. And so my first pick for an under-the-radar neighborhood similar to Camas is going to be Lacamas Prairie and that Mill Plain area. The next area I think has Camas vibes, but without the Camas price, is going to be Mount Vista. Now, the Mount Vista area kind of is sort of East Salmon Creek, but it also kind of butts up against Ridgefield, and it's sort of anchored by the WSU Vancouver campus and that surrounding nature area there, which is gorgeous. The homes there are typically going to be 70s builds. There's some new construction there as well, but mostly they're going to be resale homes that are magnificent, beautiful. They're up on the hill. It's a pretty hilly neighborhood where I'm thinking of, and the homes are simply stunning, and I believe the neighborhood is super slept on. You can get a home there right about now for $650, and these offer a tremendous value because that area around there, it's not talked about a lot. I don't hear a lot of people doing videos about Mount Vista, but it's really cool. The homes are really unique. And I am a sucker for a 70s, 80s home, like that chalet style. So a little grain of salt, but I've seen some really good deals there. They don't come up all the time, but when they do, it's something to really consider because, like I said, the area attracts, it's a really good neighborhood. There's a lot of professionals that live there. The schools are really good because you're either getting sort of that, Alki, what's the name of the high school I'm trying to think of right now? Not Salmon, Salmon Creek. You're getting some really good schools there, or you're in the Ridgefield School District, which is also pretty good. I consider that to be a pretty good school district as well. And so you're getting kind of that same vibe, and you have access to that whole Salmon Creek 134, 139 corridor where it's got plenty of shopping, you got plenty of restaurants there, and so you're kind of tucked away up in the hills, but it's only a few minutes to all those amenities. And so I think Mount Vista really fits the bill of a Camas-like area that can be had for less money, but you get the same sort of home, same sort of neighborhood feel. Now, the last neighborhood on my list that's very Camas-like, and may even be sort of the future Camas, if you will, because there is a lot of space for development there. So, I would expect there to be some new housing developments there. We're already seeing some light industrial development and some stores and stuff being built there, but there's still a lot of farmland, and which I do think would be pretty sad to see that all of it developed, but I wouldn't be surprised as the need for housing rises. But this is going to be sort of the Hockinson Brush Prairie area. Now, this area has certainly a more of a rural feel. It's almost what Camas was 10 years ago. So it's something that you can kind of grow into. And, beware that if you do buy there, you're not going to be buying against something that's going to be like developed. There is sort of a risk of there being some construction there in the future, but for the meantime, it's a very rural feel. A lot of the properties have some acreage, but the ones I'm specifically thinking about in that Brush Prairie Hockinson area are up by the Salmon Morgan Nature Area. Now, this is an area that's absolutely stunning. There's plenty of walking trails along the creek there, and the homes in that neighborhood that sort of butt up against that Salmon Morgan Creek area are fantastic. Similar to Mount Vista, they're kind of 70s, 80s, homes, big square footage, big windows, very unique, and they can also be had for, $750 to $800. So a little bit under the Camas, but you still get those Camas vibes. Again, you get access to Battleground Lake, the falls there, all the access to the nature in that area. There's a lot of wineries there. And so and the school districts are fine as well. And so that area, that Hockinson Brush Prairie area, especially by the Salmon Creek, Morgan Creek nature area, is something that I have my eyes on as sort of a under the radar Camas-like vibes that you can have for a little bit less. And it's a little bit more unique because everybody's, and a little less competitive because everybody's looking at Camas, but I think people are sleeping on these areas. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If it has, please consider smashing the like button and subscribing. And if you'd like to work with me directly, you can go to dougvarinas.com and see my radically transparent flat fee structure. This isn't a discount brokerage. This isn't some kind of not full service, trying to be cheap. This is for the people. This is a flat rate fee that can save you thousands of dollars, whether you're buying or selling. So you can always click the link to schedule a free, no pressure chat with me about how I can help you. I'm happy to talk real estate. We can talk about what you're looking for and we can go from there. Again, hope you found this helpful. Have a great day.